How's it going? I'm Evan from StandUpPaddleSurf.net.
And I'm Robert with Blue Planet Surf.
And this is another board meeting.
Yes, so I just wanted to mention real quick, I just made a new video on, a drill for downwind paddling, like how to accelerate to catch the bumps. It also is a really good drill for catching waves. So a lot of times when people come from the mainland, they're like, oh, what can I do to get ready? So that's something you can do in flat water, any conditions, just basically, accelerating, maybe stepping back a little bit and skimming the paddle. And, so it's kind of like quick bursts of speed and then gliding and then skimming the paddle, moving back on the board into the surf stance. But one thing I wanted to mention too is that you don't, like a lot of times in the downwinders, you're not going to move your feet for every bump. A lot of times you're just kind of staying in the middle of the board. But still, it's the same idea that you take like 3, 4, 5 quick strokes and then you glide and let the board glide and skim the paddle or keep the paddle low to the water for stability. So you don't have to switch your feet every time, because that actually takes a lot of energy too. So you only really switch your stance for the steeper, bigger, faster moving waves. So
there's sometimes you don't even switch your feet almost at all. You almost just lean a little bit forward back or like push on your feet a little bit, but they're kind of still there. Yeah,
so you keep a little bit of a staggered stance. You can lean forward, backwards. Use your hips to move your weight forward and backwards.
Because you're just trying to keep the momentum.
Especially on a lighter wind day, a lot of times you're not really moving your feet a whole lot.
Right.
But that drill is also really helpful for learning how to surf or catching waves, and getting used to moving your feet around is really important, because a lot of times what I see when I coach people on the surf, if they're not used to that, moving their feet around, they try to stay in the middle of the board, like right where where they're usually parallel standing, and then as soon as the wave comes and picks them up, they basically fall off the back. The board kind of slips out underneath them, and there's no way for them to catch themselves.
Or if their paddle's kind of long and they stand straight up, and then that's it, they're going to fall off the back.
So that's kind of one thing. If you have the back foot further back, or then you can also catch your weight more.
Are you talking about surfing? Or are you talking about catching bumps?
Both. On catching bumps too, if the board accelerates and you're not ready for that, you'll fall off the back. It's kind of the board slips out underneath you. If you have your foot on the back, then you can kind of lean on your back foot and kind of catch yourself. Also putting your paddle behind you, bracing behind you when you're taking off on a wave or a bump. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing really.
But on the wave's a little bit different too, though, because once you make that turn and the wave's like this and you start to catch it, then you can take like that half step back and take into your surf stance, and you take your last strong paddles in surf stance, so you're kind of ready to go. I kind of find that on the when you're catching bumps, you almost don't need to do that. It's like feet are like this, and then back foot moves here, and it comes back. Almost that front foot, a lot of times on the smaller stuff, is really in the same spot. It's just the back foot kind of moves a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much you accelerate, but it is similar. And then in the waves, it also depends where you place your weight. Like people always ask you, so when should I shift my feet, and how far should I step back and stuff like that. And it really depends on the wave that you're catching. So obviously, if you're catching like a slopey wave way outside, then you can probably stay in your parallel stance and just kind of paddle really hard and try to catch that wave to make it. And then as you're dropping in or making that wave and you feel it pushing you, then you can kind of step back. Versus if the waves kind of come bearing down on you and it's just like you're going to catch it right at the peak, then you got to already be all the way back on your board before you take that drop, So then you have to move your feet into the
Or if it already broke and you're going to try to catch it, then you kind of need to be toward the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it really depends on how where you're catching the wave, when you want to switch your feet, and how far you want to move back and so on.
Right.
Because a lot of times, also what happens is that people move back too quickly on the slopey wave, then you kind of just drop off the back of the wave. Your tail sinks and you don't have the speed.
Because your nose has to drop over the front of the wave in order to get in on it, right?
Yeah. First, you kind of have to lean forward to catch it. And then when you're in it, when you're dropping in, that's when you want to move back, because you don't want the nose to go down into the trough, So and I find that it's both really helpful for downwinders to learn how to drop in, catch waves, and vice versa. If you get good at downwinders and you're good at catching bumps, then catching waves becomes a breeze. You can catch the waves way outside, and just because you got the right technique, and also the stroke technique is really important. Doing those quick accelerating strokes, like I talked about in my other video, those those strokes, and then your foot positioning, and just knowing where to go on your board, that all makes a big difference in how many waves you can catch.
But both of them kind of play into each other. Like the better you get at going downwind and catching bumps, like you said, the better you get at surfing, and kind of vice versa.
Exactly.
And they're not really the same, because like when it's windy, the waves are blown out most of the time. It's kind of junk on a stand-up, because you can't really drop in and then the wind keeps blowing it up. But on a downwinder, it's like perfect conditions. And then when it gets kind of flat wind condition and so on, then it's junk for a downwinder, and you go surfing. So
right. Yeah,
I find that if you're doing it a lot, you just get better. Period.
Yeah, they complement each other really well, the downwinders and surfing. Surfing is good when the wind's dead, and downwindering is great when the wind's strong. So.
But there's a huge difference if you have like somebody helping to coach you, like how you guys do on your Wednesday coaching sessions, and you're doing that downwinder. I mean, just could even be a one session coaching, you easily cut off 3 months worth of trial and error. Because a lot of times it's like you're paddling when you're not supposed to paddle, you're paddling hard when you're supposed to paddle light. I find that most of the time you're just paddling too much. The feel is off and so on. So I think a good lesson would help. I know that the guys I've gone with and have taught me to cut off massive amounts of time.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like just getting, like when I was learning, just getting a small pointer from someone made like a huge difference. All of a sudden that was like a game changer. Like I was talking about that Brian Kehlana telling me to start in first gear, and I was starting in third gear, and then when I figured that out, I was like, man, that, I was really doing it wrong for the longest time, and I was wondering why I'm not catching as many waves. I'm pulling as hard as I can and not getting waves, and it's like getting frustrated, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now I know why I wasn't getting the waves, So yeah, I mean, and it's an ongoing thing too. It's like you're never done learning, like,
right.
Every time, and if you focus on your technique, it's like Jeff keeps saying, like that guy John Puakea said that he worked one whole year on just his catch, making sure his paddle catches properly, and that's a really important part of the stroke. And yeah, even as someone who's been paddling many years, it's like you can work on that aspect of your stroke for a whole year, and so it's an ongoing thing, and you're never done learning and getting better at it, really. So yeah, and it's like that.
No, I was going to say that 2 tips that made a big difference for me. The first was from Dave Parmenter, when we're talking about going downwind, and Dave said that it's almost like when you are in an airplane. As long as the nose can constantly point down, you can get speed and you can keep going. So what you want to do as much as possible is keep the nose at least facing going down, because once it goes under you and then your nose comes up, that's when you lose your momentum and
right.
so on. So you're always trying to keep that nose down but not poke. But as long as the nose is down, you can keep going. And then Kaino Beaupre. I remember in the beginning I was paddling with him, and I was paddling as hard as I possibly could, and he was staying on the side of me, coaching me. And he's like, dude, you're working too hard. I'm like, no, I'm doing it. And he's like, you're working too hard. I'm like, my God. He goes, I'm not paddling. I'm like, what? And he was next to me going the same speed, not paddling. I was like, what the heck are you doing? He goes, bro, you got to back off. So that was the day I said, okay, I got to maybe stop paddling on some of this instead of paddling too much. The dude wasn't paddling.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the biggest thing that I always have a hard time with people that are used to paddling in flat water. There might be really good racers and paddlers, but I always tell them, you gotta learn how to stop paddling. You got, because it's so hard for people not to do that steady, constant stroking. And it's really in a downwinder, that's actually going to slow you down. It's if you can't do like a quick acceleration and then glide and not paddle, you got to know when not to paddle. So otherwise, you're not going to go very fast.
You look at guys like Doug Locke, who are just so good.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're not even doing anything. He's just riding waves. I've even seen him on a 12.6, like doing cutbacks out there. We're like, what the heck is he doing?
Yeah, he's like fully surfing out there.
Yeah, he's cutting back. I'm like, I'm trying to drop in on the bump, and he's cutting back.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
Yeah.
And
then when you get good, it's really a lot about like going like zigzagging and following the bumps around. That's what Doug is really good at. And also not going directly into the steepest part of the trough, but kind of riding it sideways, kind of going down the line a little bit.
That's where the skill comes in. It's like
avoiding the nose poking in the front. So.
The canoe guys over here, they on the OC1s, it was Jared Wadamo. He said, "Look, dude, it's when in doubt, go out." So the smaller bumps are going out, and then the bigger bumps are coming in. So he said, when in doubt, go out, because the smaller ones you get the longer ride. So you're going out, and then when the bigger one comes, you turn into the bigger one, and they're catching the bigger ones.
Right.
So he's like, dude, if in doubt, go out. I mean, you don't want to go out all the way till you're stuck, but that's kind of his.
But yeah,
thing.
a lot of times the faster ones are coming back in, you know, towards
the bigger ones, but the longer ones are kind of the smaller ones a lot of times. Which is weird, because it's like you're riding something and you're like, where even is it? I don't even see it.
But like you said, it looks like Doug's not doing anything. But what you realize is that, like, if you watch your heart rate, it's actually like on downwinders, my heart rate goes way higher than when I'm just paddling flat water. Even if I'm paddling flat water as hard as I can, I'll never get to that same heart rate as when you're sprinting. You know, because you're like sprinting for the bump, and then even though you're gliding a lot, like when you put in that sprint effort, that makes your heart rate shoot up, you know. So a lot of times my heart rate, like on a downwinder, goes up to like 180 or more, versus like on flat water, I have a hard time getting it up to 160, you know.
But it's good because you don't notice it, right? Because you're constantly catching bumps and so on, so it could be.
It doesn't feel like you're
that's how you
working
lose
that hard.
weight.
Yeah.
That's how I need to lose weight. I got to get out there more and
yeah, downwinder is like a super full body exercise. I mean, and it's fun. You're enjoying it the whole way, so you don't really notice that you're working that hard, you know. Yeah, it's a great way to. And then if you go with others,
it's more collegial.
And you're like kind of chasing each other around, it's a good workout for sure.
I mean, when I go with you guys, it's like you guys are gone 5 minutes. Okay, see you later, freaking.
But there's usually
done and showered by the time I'm in.
Usually someone you're close to, right? I mean, usually you find your group that you're kind of chasing. You know, it's not, you know.
That's like racing.
When I go with certain guys, they're gonna be gone. I'm not gonna try to follow them, but there's other guys that are kind of right my speed, and it's good to train with guys that are just a little bit faster than you know, because then you got like a rabbit to chase, but they're not gone so far that you forget it, you know.
That's like when you're racing. You know, like there's always that person that's like kind of in front of you, and there's always that person that's like right behind you. They don't go in front, they don't take you over, they don't fall back, and they're always right there. So it's like you can't pace yourself. You're like, damn it. Yeah. I just gotta keep going then.
Yeah. And that's why I think, like, the equipment, you know, people sometimes say, you know, that, well, or some people are really into the equipment, you know, and really the equipment, the difference in speed you get from different gear is, you know, maybe 5%, you know. That's actually pretty, if you can get a board that's 5% faster, that's actually a lot, but
5% easier.
Yeah, but
I mean, easier to balance and so on. It could be a huge percentage difference.
If what?
Easier to balance.
Yeah, the balancing.
Because you're falling.
Like if you're always like with a buddy and you're always like chasing each other, and then all of a sudden you're 5% faster over an hour. That's like 5 minutes, right, or whatever. So that's actually a big difference. You know, but you know, that's a huge difference actually. You know? A lot of times it's probably 1% or less, really. Like, you know. And like sometimes, you know, if you use a different fin, for example, and it just feels a little bit better. You know, it might be like 0.1% difference in the total speed, but still, at the end, like when you're chasing your buddy, you know, 1/10
I feel like the equipment is a big difference.
Like,
I don't know.
You know,
to me, it's a big difference.
So I mean, if it makes 10 seconds difference over an hour run, that's already it's noticeable, right? So the equipment, and you don't want to be slower than someone else because of the equipment, right? So anyway.
All right, so maybe what we got to do is go on a downwinder, and then we'll do a kind of talk back and forth a bit.
Yeah.
See that? We'll do that next.
So one more thing I wanted to talk about was you know, testing the speed of boards. You know, people are always like, oh, how come you're not doing like a test of the speed of the boards? You know, downwind boards or whatever.
Like your hull speed or something.
Yeah, we've done like the flat water test with 12-footers and 14-footers, and you know a lot of times the differences are so small that it's really hard to measure it. You know. Because there's a little variation in the conditions or how hard.
Yeah, it's not a boat.
Yeah,
it's not a boat with
really
some power. You know what I mean?
So it's really hard to measure the differences in speed, and basically in a downwinder, it's basically impossible to measure because every time you do a run, it's going to be different conditions, and you know, your time on a Hawaii Kai run can vary by like 20 minutes just depending on conditions, right? So like a speed difference of a minute in the board, you know, which would be considerable.
But you add in bumps and stuff and human powered, it's a whole different deal because you're doing this.
So really the only way to test, I find the only way to test the difference or to test downwind boards is by going out with a partner that's about your same speed and then switching back and forth. And if you do that, you can kind of tell pretty quickly, oh, you know, whoever's on that board is going a little bit faster, you know. So I find that really the
But you got to take the same line.
You gotta
they might have taken a faster line and then dusted you.
Yeah. So, but
Or
that's
vice
something
versa.
like with Jeff Chang, I can kind of do that because we kind of know, like we're pretty similar in speed, and so if one of us is going a little bit faster, then we just know, that and then if we switch and then he's going faster, and then I switch again, and I'm going faster. So then okay, this board is a little bit better, and sometimes it's actually the wider, more stable board that's faster, So people always think, again, flat water, usually a narrower board is faster.
Right.
As long as you can balance on it, it's going to be faster, right? But on the downwind board,
It's faster as long as you're standing.
right?
If you're in the water swimming, then it's not faster.
Exactly, and even like on a flat water board, if you're always bracing and losing your power in your strokes, and because you're always like on your tippy toeing, then you're not going to be faster. But generally speaking, like narrower has less drag,
But the single hull kind of displacement boards, it seems like after a certain speed, those are not faster in downwind bumps than the planing hulls. Although in flat water, they're over a longer period of time, they can keep that average speed higher. I noticed that like all the displacement hull ones, for the most part, not really. Most things have moved back to planing hulls these days.
Yeah, for downwinders, if you got enough bumps, then the planing hull is definitely faster. Yeah. But in light wind conditions, sometimes the displacement boards can be faster. But what I find, when it gets good, the planing hulls are faster, and then that's, I think, also where the width makes a difference. Like, because if the board's too narrow, it won't create as much lift. So a wider board has a bigger planing surface, so it creates more lift. And that's where sometimes I think also in downwinders, the wider board's not only more stable, but also creates more lift for planing. So.
I mean, the main thing is if you can balance, because for all beginners, the number one thing is balance. Like, they can't catch a bump if they can't stand up. That's what happened to me, is that you get hit from bumps coming from the inside, from the outside, from the back, and you're just trying to balance. But once you can balance, then you can think about catching bumps. And the stability of the board is a huge factor, because you fall off like 5 times, you start getting tired, man. And every time you fall off, that's at least a minute that you're losing in momentum and whatever else.
Yeah, and it's hard to get your sea legs back once you fall in a couple times too. Yeah. So, and I always I do a lot of downwind coaching, and people that they come from the mainland and they're like, oh yeah, I'm used to riding like a 24-inch wide board, and I have really good balance, and so I don't want to try it. I don't want to go on a 30-inch wide board. Can I just use the 28 or 27-inch wide one? Yeah. So, and then a lot of times I'll be like, okay, and then but I'll just bring the 30-inch wide one and then use it myself, and then I tell them, if I see you falling in more than once a minute, I'm going to switch boards with you.
Yeah, because I mean, it'll be like 10 o'clock at night before you can come in at that rate.
Yeah. So, and then a lot of times after, once we get out in the rougher water, then they're like, oh yeah, then let me use the wider now, wider one now, because it's not easy when you're not used to that rough water.
But same thing is like I remember like Joe Blair would come over from San Diego and be on these really small boards, but then once you hit the trade winds over here, the really small board becomes harder.
Right.
So light winds, glassy conditions, you can ride small stuff, but once it gets bumpy, oh man, everything changes.
Right.
Everything, like at Ala people are on the inside doing the demo, and they're like, yeah, I got it. Once they cross over the reef and hit and actually get into where the waves are at, and then nobody can stand.
Yeah, exactly. So it really depends on what you want to do with that board too. Like if you want just a simple flat water board and you're only going to go out on the calm, sunny days, or if you want something that you can actually use in waves or windier days and rougher waters.
Yeah, that's why you have a quiver.
Exactly.
Right?
One board's not enough for everything.
Rent boards from you, right? And then trade it in to buy some.
Exactly.
So, okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. Next time we'll go on the water and do it.
Yeah, so check out our free clinics that we do at Ala Moana. We have rental credit, try before you buy type of thing. So, before you buy a board, spend a lot of money buying a board, just rent first, and that's always the best way to go.
And then just use the money that you use from the rental for the board, right?
Exactly. We do full credit up to $250 of rental fees towards the purchase.
And then on the Wednesday training sessions that you guys have, that would be perfect for anyone who wants to start learning downwinders. If you're beginning, even if you're intermediate, it's kind of good to go with a group. And you guys do that every Wednesday. Unless something happens, then maybe it's a Thursday, but most part it's Wednesday.
Yeah. So and it keeps it, like we said too, like if you paddle with a group and you're doing like a time trial, that's what we do when it's not windy, then you always push yourself harder if you're paddling with other people. If you just train by yourself, you're never going to paddle as hard.
It's like lifting weights or going to the gym, right? You go with somebody and you have someone to kind of feed off each other's energy. You go by yourself, it's easy to just watch TV.
Exactly. So if you can go with others, always do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Sounds good. So
Thank
thanks
you
so
for
much for watching. This was another board meeting, and please join us next time. Give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe below. Please join us on our websites at StandUpPaddleSurf.net and BluePlanetSurf.com, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.
Aloha.